Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's presentation. My name is Evangelysm, and you are listening to the Evangelysm podcast, and I'm here to share with you my love for raiding, for priests, and generally having fun in the world of Warcraft and spending too much time in Azeroth, the Outlands, and more recently in Draenor. Today is Tuesday the 17th of February 2015, and in today's show I'll be covering the news, my Talk section, which is a look at the 6.1 patch notes, my mailbox, and this is how we do it, my tip section. But first, my weekly update on what I've been up to inside the game and in the real world. The past week, what I've mostly been doing is the garrison grind on my alliance tunes on the Shadowsong Azure Connected Realm. And yes, it really does get more boring each week. And yes, I'm almost at breaking point with it. But that said, I have actually pushed my last two tunes into Draenor. My monk was smuggled away into Draenor via the power of a warlock summon. So I'd like to thank Meta, Alcathrase and Misanthrope for assisting me in that little exercise. And I also took my druid, McGruith, into Draenor via the questing way. You know, that boring quest through Tanam Jungle? And yeah, I did it that way. And oh my god, do druids need a nerf? He's level 90, obviously, just took him through. And 1 star surge, and things die. And I must admit, I did start getting cocky. I simply moonfired half a dozen mobs around me, and as they started running towards me, I popped the Starfall button. Yeah, and it did pull in maybe another half a dozen, with the half a dozen that I'd already pulled in. The first time I did it, I thought, I'm gonna die. But I didn't, so I dotted everything up, and then everything just fell at my feet. So I started doing it that way as well, and it was quite fun. It really was quite fun. And especially the bit in Tanam where you've got the arena. Boom, 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 boom. That was fun. Starfall there. Really good. Now, the other thing that I've been doing on my main Evelix in the guild Exhumed on Shadowsong EU, I've been mainly farming mounts. Fruitless as it turned out, because I didn't get anything, but I tried. But the reason I tried was because I was waiting for my queue to get into Ashran to get 200 conquest points. I tried this 3 days for a total of about 8 hours. It might have been a little bit more, might have been a little bit less, but we'll call it 8 hours. And it really is annoying in that queue, because you don't know when it's going to pop because there's no timer. You got the little eye in the corner in your minimap, but no timer. So you daren't even go for a pee, because you know as soon as you get up, even if you're only 2 minutes, what will happen as soon as you get up and get out of the room that you're in, the queue will pop. You'll finish your business, and by the time you get back, you'll see it counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, and just as you hit the keyboard, it'll vanish, and then you're at the back of the queue again, which is painful. So I was basically just queuing for Ashran and running for mounts and failing at getting mounts. I did take, after 2 days, I did get the 200 conquests that I needed. But the middle day, can't remember which day of the week it was, but the middle day I just gave up after 2 hours. Not good. But outside of that little incident, the Ashran incident as we'll call it, I spent some time killing 2 new heroic bosses in Blackrock Blackrock Foundry. The first ones we killed, well, the first one I killed was Operator Thogar, and we also killed Hansgar and Franzok. And Hansgar and Franzok is possibly the funniest fight that I've ever listened to. And if you haven't done it yet, as soon as you get the chance to go in and do it, do it. Even if it's LFR, go in and do it. It is that funny. Maybe not the second time, but it is funny. But anyway, going back to Operator Thogar, he's the guy with the train set. And what a fight that is, really. And yeah, I'm ashamed to admit that while we were doing a lot of our practice runs, or wipes as other people call them, I believe, I failed horribly at dodging trains. How can you fail at dodging a train? I don't know. I failed. And it's not big, it's not clever, and when you're on that fight, watch out for the trains. They're really big, the doors open, big train comes in, thump, straight over the Levelix. Not good. So, a tip for you, because I did actually record all of my fights so I know what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong. And one of the things that I spotted was that I was changing my mind on which track that I should or shouldn't be on. So I'd run halfway across the track and then think, oh no, I'm running into another train. And then I'd turn round and then get hit by the train that I should have avoided in the first place. So my pro tip for raiders is, whenever you move, don't change your mind, don't dither. As soon as you think you need to move, move. If you make the wrong decision, you make the wrong decision. You will get over that bit, you'll learn that bit. But don't delay, just move, and don't ever change your mind in which direction you're running if there's something that's going to hit you and kill you. Because that was what was getting me. I was thinking, oh, I need to move off of this track, and just moving on into a train, or what I thought was into another train coming the other way. Half the time it wasn't, but I changed my mind, and that is wrong. It was caused me to die a lot more than I really needed to. And that's actually quite good advice for a lot of fights, probably. So just remember, don't dither, don't change direction. More successfully, though, we did kill him, which was good. And then, as I say, we moved on to Hansgar and Franzok and killed them really quickly. That was quite a, in a way, depressingly easy fight, but at least it was a good, funny fight to go along with it. I've also cleared this week, on Sunday and Monday, we run, it's not an alt run. It used to be, but it's not anymore. It's a casual run that we run on Sundays and Mondays for people that aren't as experienced in raiding, or they don't want to commit to raiding regularly. So we just have a normal run, which slowly over the tier will escalate into a heroic run. And we killed 9 out of 10 in normal this week. Only Black Hand is left, so all thumbs up for that one. Good job on that one, guys. The other thing that I've done this week is Evlix 2. She's my little dwarf priest, and I've been raiding on her this week with the lovely folks of Cotton Candy. And this week we managed to kill, for the first time, first guild kill of Heroic Kargath. And we also had some tries on the twins, on Tectus and the Butcher. Well, the Butcher wasn't really a try, it was a butchering, so we just moved quickly on to the twins. And we got really close on the twins, and then we had to go on Tectus just because we could. And then the raid ended, so we had a good run. It was fun. Now, the other thing is I'm considering changing her name, because it's really confusing having two characters of the same name on the same connected realm, especially when they're both priests. And it doesn't make it any easier for me to talk about it in this sort of section that I'm doing now. So I'm really thinking about changing her name. So if you've got any suggestions for names, for a dwarf priest, female dwarf priest, yeah, I am unusual. I considered Evlix a female name, and therefore she was a female dwarf. So I'm thinking of changing the name. Please send me a suggestion. I've also, this week, spent a lot of time learning some of the tricks in Audacity. So hopefully, over the next coming weeks or so, if you haven't heard it already, because I'm really hoping that you have noticed the change in me getting better at the job, but also in the sound quality of the show. And I'm really trying hard, because I listen to my own voice. I want to make it the sound better. So I'm having to learn how to use Audacity, how to make things sound good in Audacity, and I'm slowly getting there, but it is taking time. So any feedback on the quality of the show, on any part of the quality of the show, but specifically the audio quality. If you think it's too loud, too quiet, too many booms, too much bass, too much treble, just let me know if there's too much background noise. I know it does echo, because I sit in a room it isn't my bathroom, but it might as well be, because it's got a tiled floor, bare walls. I've got blinds, not curtains. There's basically, the only soft furnishing is the chair that I'm sat on. I can't get rid of the echo just yet. I am trying to find out how I can make the room less echoey, and one of the steps will be to get a mic. That will come. But I'm just trying to make it sound as good as I can with what I've got at the moment, because the money's not there. And so I'm all trying to do it all for free. The one thing that I can give is my time, and that's where I'm investing in the show. At the moment, it's all investment in the show in time. So please, any feedback, even if it is telling me that this sounds a bit hissy, or you can hear my tapping of the desk like that. That's deliberate. You will hear that. But if you can hear that sort of thing, let me know, please. Anyway, that was me this week. In the rest of today's show, I'll cover all of the bits that I normally cover, the news, my talk section, and that sort of thing. So, we'll move swiftly onto the news. So, this week, in the world of Warcraft, well, it's actually been quite quiet again, apart from the mythic progression in Blackrock Foundry. Now, at the time of recording, Mythic Blackhand is still alive. He is the undefeated champion of Blackrock Foundry, and only Paragon and Method, both of the EU, look like real challenges this week, as they're both 9 of 10, on Mythic of course, and they're the ones that are really knocking on the door, and I'm really hoping by the time I release this show on, well hopefully Wednesday, that they will, one of them, or both of them, it'd be nice if both of them have killed him. Now, there's also many guilds at 8 of 10 in Mythic, and they're all stuck on Blast Furnace. And I haven't done that fight a couple of hours ago, but only on normal. I found it quite a challenging, demanding fight, but I also found it a very dull fight. But I do hate fights where you're not actually fighting a boss, where you're fighting ads. If I want to fight ads, I can go and do the Battle of Mount Hyjal, and that was the dullest raid, the second dullest raid ever. And for these guys that are now bashing their heads against Mythic Blast Furnace, I really don't know how they're doing it, because the fight would just bore me to tears. I hope that it might be that the Mythic fight is actually a little bit more exciting than just a load of trash, but I don't think it will be. So my heart goes out to those guys on 8 of 10, because they've got a nasty, horrible fight to deal with that is also tough. So hopefully next week we'll have an announcement of, yes, Mythic Blackhand has been killed. And while we're on the subject of that, I did also find it quite comical listening to, and I think it was Convert to Raid. It might have been Sheep Moon, but I'm sure it was Convert to Raid, where they were going through which guilds have done the world firsts last Tuesday. Yeah, no, on the EU, we didn't even have Mythic Blackrock Foundry until Wednesday. So, of course, all of these US guilds were getting world firsts. So, yeah, it's a little bit premature to be claiming world first before half of the world has actually got it. And yeah, I know technically it is still a world first because they had it first, but then that's just what the Americans do. Sorry guys, but you do. Your Super Bowl champions, they declare themselves world champions in a game that only Americans play. And again, yes, technically it is correct because they are the champions of everyone that plays the game. And don't get me wrong, I do actually love American football. I am, and have been for a very long while, an Atlanta Falcons fan. I even used to play the game way back when, in the 80s, 1980s. So I am sympathetic to it. I do enjoy the game, but calling yourselves world champions, no. The other thing that we've seen this week, the one bit of Blizzard news that did come out, was the major graphical overhaul that they're doing to the engine that runs Warcraft. Well, the World of Warcraft. And these are all coming out in 6.1. Now, I won't go over them in too much detail because it's hard to show you pictures through my microphone. But the changes are putting a lot of lighting effects in and making things look more realistic. And to me, that's really good because I haven't got the top end graphic card and I probably won't see the benefit of it myself. But what it does show is that Blizzard are investing in the game still. They aren't expecting it to die out next year if they're putting all of this effort in onto the engine side of it. So they're making it look prettier than ever, and they're future-proofing the game, which is great. So that concludes the news. I'm recording this a little bit earlier than I normally would, because I'm working night shift tonight, which if you're listening to this on the day of release will be yesterday, and I'm taking a little bit of a flyer in predicting that we're going to get 6.1, patch 6.1, on Wednesday the 18th of February 2015. So if I'm wrong, I'm going to look like a fool, and you'll be getting patch notes really early, which could then mean that they're wrong. Okay? Right. Rather than go through everything, though, what I'm going to cover is just what interests me, with a heavy focus on priests and raiding. And what I'll do is I'll go through in the order that I've found them in the patch notes on the official site. So, let's get on with the show. The first real interesting part for me was the fact that they're updating the Blood Elf model. Now, the Blood Elves are the last model that they haven't actually fixed yet, or broken, depending on which way you look at it. And what they've done is they've just given them the spit and polish that every other race has had, and they're just sticking to the... But they're doing what they did with every other class race. They're making them look shiny and pretty and up to date. They won't obviously be touching the Worgans and the Goblins and the Pandas because they're reasonably up to date already. The other thing that they're doing is the Twitter integration. And as my Talk topic last week was all on the Twitter integration, we'll just pretend that that isn't there. But it is good, and you'll be able to send tweets from inside the game. Okay. Now, the other thing that they're adding is an upgrade to the collection system, which is the pets, the mounts, that kind of thing. And what they're now putting in is heirlooms. And what they're now doing with the heirlooms is they're giving them a tier system to denote the maximum level of what the item can scale up to. A new next slot heirloom has also been added, and this allows characters to cast a heal once a minute, and this shares a cooldown with potions and health stones. You can now buy heirlooms for gold, Dark Room prize tickets, champion seals from the Argent tournament, and some world events now sell items for the currency that you obtain through the world event. Moving on to garrisons and followers and outposts, it's now possible to get a dungeon boss in your garrison that awards a bag with a chance to contain a 630, 645 or a 655 item token. Don't know where these tokens will be redeemable, but I'm sure that we'll find that out in due course. It's also going to be possible to defeat a raid boss each week through a quest. The quest awards a bag with a chance to contain a level 645 or a 655 item token. Same deal as before, I guess. Now there's also going to be a bounty, which is going to be intended for 3 or more players. And what the aim of the bounty is to defeat a named elite NPC for a bag containing Epicness crystals and a chance to contain another 645 or 655 item token. These 3 things seem to be a really good way to gear up alts, and that really does look good. I'd love to know more information about what they actually mean by those, though. Sure, we'll get them, especially if the patch has been released today. Now, another quest that you're going to be able to get is a relic quest. You have to complete a series of quests to recover a relic for a bag containing Epicness crystals and a chance to contain a level 645 or a level 655 item token. Completing a relic mission unlocks it as a potential mission for your followers. So I'm guessing if you complete this, you'll then be able to get your followers to do the quest in the future. And completing all 6 relic missions will unlock Harrison Jones as a follower. I'm not really that fussed about Harrison Jones as a follower, but yeah, I'll take him. Now, while you're also completing these bounty relic dungeon or raid quests, they come from a garrison visitor. So players may find an item that allows them to summon one of 6 new raid bosses into the garrison. And a summoned raid or world boss will have scaling health and is intended for 10 to 40 players. Sounds like fun. We're also getting the new garrison music box, so you'll be able to change the music in your garrison. The new garrison vendor has been added, which will allow players to use garrison resources to purchase items to upgrade followers or items that can be used to spawn a rare mission. Now, as someone who has got a problem at keeping my garrison resources down below 10,000, and I'm really struggling with that. That'll be a good way to unload some garrison resources. We're also getting a new follower trait called Treasure Hunter, which increases the amount of gold rewarded from a mission. Sounds a bit like the Scavenger, but instead of increasing the amount of garrison resources, I guess that will increase the amount of gold that we get from missions. Our garrison followers can now be upgraded to item level 675. Now again, I've got more than 25 of my followers at 654 at the moment on Evangelysm, the main one, so it won't be a massive leap to get a few of them up to 675, and ultimately in a very short period of time probably at least 25 of them up to 675, so that's all good. There's some new profession missions that are available on upgrading and profession building to level 3. Sounds good. There's a new exploration mission available to players with a skill of at least 1 in archaeology, so if you've learned archaeology you'll be able to get these missions, and on successfully completing these missions they can award archaeology fragments, keystones or treasure maps for a Draenor zone. Now the treasure maps obtained in this manner do not require the quest achievement for the Draenor zone, which I guess is handy for Alliance players for Frostfire and Horde players for Shadowing Valley, because there is no quest achievement in those zones for those factions. New raid missions to Blackrock Foundry are available in 6.1 for a cache that awards level 665, 680 or 695 items. So that's the normal heroic and mythic raid items, just as we've got now in Highmoor. The scavenger trait for followers now increases garrison resources gained from a mission by 100%, which is currently 200%, so that's a nerf. A new scavenger trait for followers now increases garrison resources gained from a mission by 100%, down from 200%. Now, someone that isn't struggling for garrison resources, I don't see a problem with this, especially as there are no changes coming in that will allow you to get garrison buildings that generate garrison resources for free. Well, for gold. Followers assigned to work at a building now receive XP for each work order that they provide a production bonus on. So if you've got an alchemist working in an alchemy shack and you're putting work orders in, they currently boost the amount of goods that you get out of that box. And when that happens, you'll get XP for that follower, which is good because you can level up a follower without taking them out of the building. Players now have an option to queue up all remaining work order slots through the building's work order UI. Nice. NPCs that accept work orders are now titled as such, along with a new interaction cursor to make them easier to locate. As someone that has that problem, particularly in my enchant shacks, because I do go in mounted most times, in fairness, that will help. The level 3 Dwarven Bunker, or for you Hordies, the War Mill, will actually have a daily quest, which will allow players to exchange Iron Horde scraps for an armour or weapon enhancement token. Now that's good, because we've got 21 levels to upgrade. A vendor at the barracks now sells an item that allows a character to shrink their bodyguards for 60 minutes. Anyone that's got Tormark or Bluke will greatly appreciate this one. The lumber mill no longer requires garrison resources to build or upgrade, and work orders now award 30 garrison resources, up from 20, which is what I just mentioned there about the nerf to scavengers. Miner's Coffee no longer has a stack limit, is now bind on pickup, oh no, and has a sell price. It now has an exclusive category, so it cannot be applied multiple times by splitting it into different stacks. I see, okay, I wasn't aware that that was possible. However, the aura can now correctly stack up to 5 times, so you can get round the mine faster. Excellent! Hey! Preserved Mining Pick no longer has a stack limit, is now bind on pickup, has a sell price and offers a bonus even if you have the Peon's Mining Pick, so that's good too. Shame that one doesn't stack to 5 times as well. The Tier 3 salvage recovered from a follower mission no longer has an independent chance to drop an uncommon green, a blue or an epic item, and will instead always drop one of them. This change is intended to reduce overall item spam without affecting their value. Well, if that's the case, I guess that if it would have spawned one of each, it will now only spawn the highest one. That seems fair enough, because there was just too much rubbish. It was generating a lot of gold, I will admit, but there was just too much coming out of those boxes because there's no bag space. It was a management nightmare for bag space. Existing chance for a Tier 3 salvage to potentially also contain an uncommon Tier 2 salvage remains unchanged. Okay, I really think that's just a really small change. A big patch note for not much change there. Follower weaponry and armor set tokens, the War Ravaged, the Blackrock, and the Gore Drenched, which is the 615, the 630, and the 645 boosts, no longer drops from the salvage. So that's the armor sets. The weapon and armor enhancement tokens that can upgrade a follower's weapon or armor will continue to have a chance to drop. So the ones that give you +3 or +6 or +9 to your weapon or armor will still drop from the salvage crates. It's just the sets. Well, it won't personally affect me. Well, it will on the alts, but on Evangelysm it won't really affect me because all of my followers are over 645 anyway. And you'll probably be able to get them from the Ironhorde scraps, which is cool. The trading post no longer requires garrison resources to build or upgrade, so that's cool. Same as the lumber mill. Players that have performed above and beyond expectations for a gold rating while defending their garrison from an invasion can now attain platinum rating, which awards a level 660 item and the chance of becoming an item that can be used to summon a raid boss. Ooh, excellent. Itemization. Now, when I saw this in the patch notes, I thought we might be getting a change to some of the stats, but well, obviously it is that, but it isn't what I was expecting. I was maybe hoping that they were getting rid of versatility. A wild dream, I know. But what they're actually doing is the tertiary stats, which is avoidance, speed, and leech, which avoidance is the one that stops you taking AoE damage. Speed, obviously, is making you run faster. Not haste, it's just your movement speed. And leech, which is the one that self-heals you, so as you do either attacks or heals, you heal yourself. They now provide 4 times as much benefit per stat point. Now, I have one item and it heals me for 24. Every time I do something I get 24 back. I don't notice a heal of 24. Now 100, I might notice a bit more. So that's quite cool. All rings, neck, cloak and trinket items that can be acquired in the Grand, the level 98 plus zone, or later, should now be better suited for the character's loot specialization. This means that tanks should no longer receive items with no bonus armor, and healers should no longer receive items with no spirit from quests or personal loot mode for those slots. Which is quite good, because when I've been gearing up my little Evangelysm, the dwarf Evangelysm, I've had this problem that I'm after spirit items and I can't get them. So that's quite good, and hopefully that personal loot will mean in raids too, because it's stupid that that doesn't work that way. Now, this one is me because I have a dwarf or two. Stone form, when used, now triggers a 30-second shared cooldown with other PvP trinkets. Now, that seems a bit rough, because stone form, I believe, doesn't break crowd control. It only removes bleeds and poisons. But, them's the rules, I guess. And I don't do much PvP on the dwarves, so it's not a great loss for me. Bit selfish. I don't think it's a major change to the game. Most people won't even notice it because most people don't play dwarves. Now, moving on, quests. Players in a raid group will once again no longer be eligible for quest credit, except for specially designed raid quests. Well, that makes sense. I didn't realise they'd changed it, although some quests I know do work that way already, and it's the ones in the pit. And I guess it's the pit dailies and them sort of things, the Epicness dailies, that they're after targeting, because you can just run around the pit in a mob and stuff just falls over because there's so many people here. And I know I've abused that with my little Evangelysm, because I got my 680 ring, having done 2 days worth of Epicness dailies, because for one day I ran around the pit for half an hour, completed my quest there, and picked up loads of Epicness crystals just by running round and round and round. So yeah, I can see why they're doing that. It'll mean more 5-man groups running around the pit, I'm sure. Maybe more actual interaction with your server, hopefully. We are continuing to explore ways of allowing players who want to engage in solo or smaller group questing while in a raid group, for example while waiting for a raid to form or in a rated battleground to form. Yeah, that makes sense. It's always been a bugbear that you can be out in the Grand while 39 people in a raid are doing something and you can't get credit because you're in a raid even though you're 100 game miles away from the raid that can't offer you any help. So yeah, hopefully they'll fix that, work their way around it. Flight path improvements. This is something that's close to my heart. Improve the logic used for connecting flight paths. Players are now able to fly through a flight point that they have not yet discovered if it results in a more direct flight path to a destination point. So that makes sense. This is also cool. A button has been added for characters in the middle of a flight to get off at the next known flight point. I do still wish they would allow you to jump off. So it's, do you want to dismount now? Yes. Here's a parachute. Maybe limit it to an hourly thing, once an hour? Yeah, I could live with that. This one's also nice. Khadgar has decided to dismiss his remarkably realistic mirror images from capital cities across the land. Adventurers answering his summons and seeking to enter the Draenor may once again only find him near the dark portal in the Blasted Lands. He has become a bit of a pain, especially flying around Stormwind or the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. So thankfully he is gone, or going at least. So no more deaths from high up in the sky just because you happen to fly over Khadgar. Not that I ever died. I'm my priest who could levitate. Okay, maybe I did once. New battle pets have been added to the Black Temple, Mount Hyjal Summit and the Sunwell Plateau, along with a new achievement, Raiding with Leashes 3, to collect them all. Yay! Well, that's handy because I run Black Temple every week on my warrior, who is still trying desperately hard to get 2 Warglaves of Azeroth, and I've failed miserably so far. Hyjal Summit, I really don't want to ever go back in there again. It's a horrid place. It's a horrid place. You have to clear all of the trash. But hey, if there's a pet there, I will go in there and get pets and then never go back in again. Sunwell Plateau, I guess it gives me a reason to go in there and farm the legendary on my hunter, the legendary bow. So yeah, that's not too bad. I can cope with Sunwell. I've been in there way too infrequently. Completing the achievement to collect all the new battle pets will award a Naru pet. We can have our very own Egg Whisk. Lovely. Level 100 characters with a tier 3 garrison will now receive an item in the mail that increases a single battle pet's level to 25. That's really good for people that haven't ever gotten a pet to 25. I assume they'll be able to use it without having to level one first. Ashran's queuing system receives substantial changes to reduce wait times. Let's hope they work, because, as I mentioned earlier, they are very, very broken. Event objectives now award 100 conquest points, down from 125. Yeah, it's annoying, I guess, but it really makes very little difference, because most of the time I only needed 200 anyway, so I had to do 2 and I'll still have to do 2. There have been a lot of profession changes in this patch notes as well, but to be honest, none of them are that fantastic, so I won't bore us with the details. But if you've got professions, chances are something's changed, but they're not exciting, so just take a look. There's a few bits and pieces in there that help you make gold, but characters can now accrue up to a maximum of 60,000 Epicness crystals. I don't think I've ever earned that many, up from 20,000. Yeah, I suppose if you want to collect them and buy the stuff for alts, it's good. Mini Mana Bomb, Piccolo of the Flaming Fire, and Ruther's Harness have been added to the toy box. Well, that's cool. 3 more bag slots if you've got those 3 you're kicking around, but to be honest, there's a lot more than these 3. Let's hope that they just not documented the others. We need them all, Fixing Wizard, please. I want my bag space back. Characters now receive a treasure map in the mail for completing storyline achievements for a Draenor region, and if you didn't complete the zone, you can use the add-on just like the rest of us. Now, there's been some UI changes, one of which is that players can now access a suite of colour-blind filter options under the accessibility settings in the interface menu. Now, this doesn't affect me because I'm one of the lucky ones, but for players that are colour-blind, it'll be a huge help, so props to Blizzard for that one. When a character is killed, a new screen now shows more information on what killed them. Now, I'm really hoping that it just shows it to them, so I die and it goes, "Uh-oh, you got hit by Thorgar's train." And I'll go, yes I did. And I'm hoping it doesn't go, Evlix just died. Look at what killed him. But hey, it's good. It's all education to the players. We've also got an improved ordering for the categories in the currency tab. Well, that's quite good because at the moment it's split by expansion. All multi-page windows now support mouse wheel scrolling. Now, finally, the meaty bit. Class changes. Well, I say class changes. Priest changes. Now, there's a bit of a commentary here from the developers, and I'll read it out word for word. A primary focus for class changes in patch 6.1 is improving the overall talent balance. Not every talent needs to be useful in every situation, and in fact it's often better if they have strengths and weaknesses. But we do try to have each talent be useful in some situations, and make them close enough in value that if you really enjoy the gameplay of one talent, you don't feel like you're dragging your group down by using it. For these changes, we focus primarily on tuning, tweaking numbers, in brackets. We do know, Blizzard, thank you for clarifying anyway. And nearly all changes are buffs to underperforming talent. The goal is to reach more variety of viable builds without bringing down existing popular choices. Here I've ignored all but the best class, like I said, the Priest. The Auspicious Spirits talent for Shadow Priests no longer causes shadowy apparitions to not deal damage. Instead, it now increases a shadowy apparition's damage by 100%. In addition, it still grants one Shadow Orb. This is quite a big buff to Shadow Priest damage, because instead of reducing damage by 100%, they've increased it, so they've doubled the damage that the shadowy apparitions do, and they give you one Shadow Orb. Now that could be quite nice. Cascade may now hit the same target twice. This actually results in an increase to total healing, so its healing has been reduced by 35% to compensate. The total healing in a 20-player raid will be slightly higher than before, so that sounds like a nerf, but it's a buff in certain situations. This one I like. Mindbender lasts for 20 seconds. And that's a 33% increase because it's up from 15. Now that's actually also a 33% mana return, which is really sweet for us healers. Void Tendril's health has been increased by 30%. Well, 30% of nothing is still nothing, Blizzard. They were ridiculously overpowered in Mists, and now they're ridiculously underpowered here. And I think this won't fix them and make them balanced. It will still be woefully underpowered because everyone that you're trapping with them is going to be hitting you harder. At least I suppose they aren't going backwards with it. It's not a nerf. For Disc Priests and Holy Priests, Savings Grace healing has been increased by 50%, but reduces future healing dealt by 15%, which is up from 10%. The talent is now instant, and its effectiveness is reduced while in PvP combat. This is what we talked about in the news section last week, so I won't cover that one again. For Holy Priests, Clarity of Purpose's healing has been increased by 20%. That's cool. Always a straight up healing buff is good. Can never be bad. Now there's quite a bit of changes here for Shadow Priests as well, and Shadow Priests only. It is Divine Star, its damage has been increased by 20%. Insanity, this one's huge, now also affects Mindseer. Now Shadow Priests used to have one of the most awesome AoEs ever, and then it got nerfed and nerfed and nerfed, and now it's almost worthless. This will hopefully put it back up there, so that's good. Surge of Darkness now has a 12% chance to trigger, which is up from 10, so that's a very minor change. you probably won't notice the increase, but the numbers over a 10-minute fight will add up. Void entropy damage has been increased by 80%. Again, that's not bad. It just shows that the void entropy was dealing almost no damage compared to what it should be doing. Now, just before we end, there was another piece here which was all focused on healer damage, and there's a developer commentary for this as well, so I'll just read it word for word. Another change being made for patch 6.1 is to bring the damage potential of healers up to a level that is sufficient and balanced, and I think the key word there is balanced. Healers' damage potential will still pale compared to that of a dedicated damage dealer or tank, but it should no longer feel like you're totally ineffective when attempting to do some outdoor content. So they aren't really aiming this at raiding, but more at doing stuff outside. Now, as a disc priest, it's not too bad, and I'm guessing from what I'm seeing here, monks are in a good place too with it. But resto druids, holy paladins, and resto shaman have all received significant damage buffs. Now, people familiar with a resto druid might be thinking, but they're already rather good. And what's happening is they're getting buffs in some areas and nerfs in others, the resto druids. So that will even itself out, and I don't think they'll see a major problem. It'll just, instead of having a massive burst and then nothing for ages, I think resto druids are going to be more balanced in terms of their constant damage rather than bursty damage. And now that concludes the patch notes. Now, I know it felt a bit rushed, but I didn't want to spend too long going through patch notes, and so that's why I focused on what I enjoy, what was big for me, and what was big for priests, i.e. the priest class changes. So that's that. There are lots of profession stuff, well, I say a lot, there's some profession stuff in there, read it up if you're really interested in your professions, and of course you'll have your own class changes to read into there as well. So I'd love to hear from you about your views on some of the bigger things, particularly the professions, if you think there's something that I should have covered, but also things like the flying, getting off your taxi thing, and that kind of thing. Please let me know. The email address for any email comments is podcast@evlix.co.uk. Evlix is of course EVLYXX, and it's .co.uk, not .com. Now, if you need to get in touch with me a different way, there is the show podcast, the show Twitter account, which is @evangelysmcast, which is EVANGELYSMCAST, all one word, Evangelysmcast. And then there's my personal Twitter. If you want to just address me rather than just show me, there is @Evlix, which is @EVLYXX.
There's a letter in your mailbox.
Mail time. Now, I'm still getting no mail. And this week, I also failed to get any questions or feedback from Twitter or from my guildmate. However, I've been a bit cheeky. I've nominated myself for Sheep Moon's 2015 Podcaster Tournament of Epicness. Yeah, I know. I've been here 3 weeks and I now think I'm epic. Well, I don't. I just want to get a little bit of publicity. And in return for my trying to get that little bit of publicity, I'm going to help a show that I listen to, Sheep Moon, get a little bit of publicity from me. So the 4 people that listen to the show will now have heard of Sheep Moon. But what I need you to do is go and nominate me. And if you listen to any other podcasts, nominate the people on those podcasts too. You know, because D2D of Sheep Moon has got a nice little system with this little competition, and you can nominate up to 30 people. So nominate me and up to 29 people that you listen to on podcasts. Now, time is running out on this because I was quite late to it, and it actually ends a week today, which is the 24th of February, so it isn't far away. So what you need to do is go and do it now by visiting, and I've made this really short and simple for you. It's http:// the bits that go in the front of all web addresses, and then it's tinyurl, all one word, tinyurl.com/sheepmoon 2015. So that's tinyurl.com/sheepmoon, all one word, 2015 in numbers, as in the year. So it's tinyurl.com/sheepmoon sheepmoon 2015. Yeah? Right, do it right now. So pause this podcast, and I do mean this, pause the podcast right now and go and vote. Ready? 3, 2, 1, pause. Now, you're back already? Really? Did you vote? Did you pause? No. Shame on you. Shame on you, folks. So, after the show then, go to tinyurl.com/sheepmoon 2015. That will take you right into the forum post. And all you need to do is at the bottom, you might need to register. You probably will need to register to do it. Put my name, Evangelysm, and then after my name, put at Evangelism Cast. And then D2D will see that, and he'll count me up in all of the posts. And I'm actually there in 2 because someone else nominated me. Cool. I don't know who he was. I think it was DG. Might have been DG. I voted for myself. DG voted for himself. You guys go and vote for me too, please. As long as I get some coverage in that, I'll be happy, man. If I get through a round, I'll be even happier. But that would be dream world. So do that for me, please. So, that's basically the mail time, because there is no mail. Please do get in touch. I really, really, really want to hear from you guys and any girls out there that listen to. So please email me at podcast@evangelysm.co.uk or via one of my 2 Twitter accounts. The show one is at EvangelismCast and my personal one is at Evangelysm. Now, I'll wrap up today's show with my tip section, which is called This Is How We Do It.
This is how we do it. All hands are in the air.
This week, what we're going to take a look at is the Tier 2 talents, or the Level 30 talents, of the Priest talent trees. Now, as we saw in the first tier talents, all the 3 Priest specs, the Shadow, the Holy, and the Discipline, have the same 3 talent options on the Tier 2 as well. This tier of talents is all about movement and mobility, sort of. Now, there's 2 speed buffs, and one which is a get out of crap buff. Now, what we'll look at first is Body and Soul. This increases the movement speed of the target of your power word shield, which as a disc priest is fantastic because you're casting power word shield all the while. It also gives the same thing for Leap of Faith. So when you Leap of Faith someone, Life Grip, or Troll Grip, or whatever you want to call it, and it increases their movement speed by 60% 4 seconds. Now you can get a lot of people moving faster by spamming bubbles on them, and I think that's cool. The second choice is Angelic Feather, which allows you to place up to 3 feathers on the ground, and then anyone moving over those feathers gets a movement speed buff of 60% again, but this time for 6 seconds. And the ability has a maximum of 3 charges, so that's these 3 feathers, and each feather goes on a 10-second cooldown, which is why you get the extra 2 seconds on the speed buff. And then the last option is Phantasm, which causes your fade to remove all movement impairing effects from you, and it also makes you unslowable for 5 seconds. Now, my favourite is, and always has been, Body and Soul, because I'm lazy. I don't like the way that you place the feathers. It doesn't fit with how I play, and I like Body and Soul because of other reasons as well. Well, it's not just because I'm lazy, but it allows you to have full control over who gets your speed buff, and it's basically passive because you're spamming bubbles anyway, and you're giving people the speed buff, and therein lies its risk, because what you can do is bubble someone because they need the protection from incoming damage, and then 3 or 4 seconds later they need a speed buff, which you now can't do because they've got the Weakened Soul debuff on them, and that's the risk with this particular talent. Now, what you also have the risk of is that you give them a speed buff first, and then they need a bubble in 10 seconds, and you can't do that. And they might have took enough damage to remove the 1 bubble that you put on them. So there is a risk of using this talent that you might not be able to do what you want to do when you need to do it, if that makes sense. Now, Angelic Feather gives them a longer speed buff, but you don't have the exact control on who takes the speed buff. So if you need to speed buff someone, say a tank, so that he can get out of the raid group, and the direction he has to run is through melee, and then moving the boss at the same time. Accurately placing that feather so that only the tank runs over it is really hard. And that's the reason I don't like, well, one of the other reasons I don't like that talent. Because someone else can accidentally step on that feather and consume it. And if you've put 3 in a row, you've laid all your 3 feathers out and the tank misses the first one, or whoever misses the first one, they've got to get to the second one before they get a speed buff. Which if you've placed it 6 seconds apart, really isn't going to help you or them. And that's why I don't like that talent. And then the last one is Phantasm, which is really a PvP talent. There really is no use that I've ever found for it in PvE, and I'm sure that there is a use, and someone will be able to say, oh, what about this fight in here? Okay, yeah, there may be 1 or 2 fights, but they're all very, very situational, whereas the other ones have got lots of uses. But even in PvP, Phantasm can be quite good, especially if you can combine it with Spectral Guise, the Priest Invisibility talent we talked about last week. Because the priest can basically go, get rooted, and then what you can do is you can go invisible, Phantasm to get out of the route, so you're now invisible out of your route, and unslowable for 5 seconds. You can be shooting off to safety. It can have saved your life. So that's why I like that talent in PvP, because you can combine it with another talent and get a really useful saving your butt type setup. So that's really good for that, but not so much for the PvE. And that's where we'll end this week's show. Just to recap, if you need to get in touch with the show, you can do that via email at podcast@everlix.co.uk or via my 2 Twitter accounts, which the show one is @evangelismcast and my personal one is @everlix.